In a single trading day, Google's parent company lost close to $200 billion in market value. Not because of a scandal, not because of a lawsuit, but because of a product that didn't ship. That product is Gemini 3.5 Pro, the model Google promised would be its most powerful AI ever. It was supposed to launch in June. As of mid-July 2026, it still hasn't. By outside reporters' count, it has now missed its target date at least 3 separate times. And in the same week, the delay went public, for senior researchers walked out of Google DeepMind, including one of the original architects of Gemini itself. So what actually went wrong inside the company that basically invented the technology behind modern AI? Let's break it down. In this video, we're going to unpack exactly what happened with Gemini 3.5 Pro. We'll cover the ambitious promise Google made back in May, the specific technical problem that kept the model in the lab, why Wall Street reacted so violently, the talent exodus that made everything worse, and the bigger question underneath all of it. Is Google actually falling behind in the AI race? Or is this just one bad quarter for the company that's still sitting on some of the deepest research talent on Earth? Stick around to the end, because the answer is more surprising than the headlines suggest. To understand the disappointment, you have to understand the hype. On May 19, 2026, at Google's annual I/O Developer Conference, CEO Sundar Pichai walked on stage and made a very specific commitment. Gemini 3.5 Pro, he said, would ship in June. And this wasn't just another incremental update. The headline feature was a 2 million token context window. If that number doesn't mean anything to you, here's the translation. Context window is basically how much information the model can hold in its head at once. 2 million tokens is roughly double what Gemini 3.5 Flash could handle, and Google claimed it would be the largest of any production frontier model on the market. On top of that, Google promised a new reasoning mode called Deep Think, designed for the hardest problems in science, mathematics, and, crucially, coding. The pitch was clear. This would be the model that put Google decisively back on top of the AI leaderboard. Investors loved it. Developers marked their calendars. The expectation was set: a June launch, a flagship model, and a statement to the entire industry that the company behind the original Transformer research was still the one to beat. That was the plan. Reality had other ideas. June came and went. No Gemini 3.5 Pro. At first, a slip of a few weeks in AI wouldn't raise many eyebrows. These are enormously complex systems, and delays happen. But this wasn't a few weeks. According to reporting from Bloomberg and others, July 17th was, by outside count, at least the third target date attached to this single model. Think about what that means. Internally, Google's teams kept setting a finish line, rebuilding the model, testing it, and then deciding it still wasn't good enough to ship. 3 times. In the meantime, the model didn't fully disappear. Google confirmed it was, quote, currently testing 3.5 Pro, an upgraded Flash model, and other models with partners. The Pro version reportedly sat in a limited Vertex AI preview with a small group of select enterprise customers, while Google folded in lessons learned from Gemini 3.5 Flash. But here's the tell. Google would not confirm a new public release date. When a company is disciplined about product launches as Google refuses to commit to a date, it's not being coy. It usually means the people building the thing genuinely don't know when it'll be ready. And that uncertainty is what turned a delay into a story. So what was the actual problem? In one word, coding. According to Bloomberg's reporting, Google was, quote, taking time to try to improve Gemini 3.5 Pro's capabilities, particularly in coding. And coding, in 2026, is not a side feature. It's the single most fiercely contested battleground in all of AI. Here's why that matters so much. Coding ability has become the headline benchmark that enterprises, developers, and investors use to rank these models against each other. It's measurable, it's valuable, and it directly drives revenue. Because AI coding assistants are one of the few AI products people are genuinely paying serious money for. Google knew this was the weak spot. So in late June, the team tried to fix. They updated the data being used to train Gemini, specifically to improve its coding skills. It was a reasonable move. Retrain on better data, get better results. Except, in Google's own internal testing, the results were, and this is the word used in reporting, disappointing. That's the quiet part that makes this delay different from a normal one. It's not that Google ran out of time. It's that they tried to close the gap, measured the outcome, and the numbers still didn't clear their own internal bar. When your fix doesn't work, just ship it stops being an option, Because shipping a flagship model that codes worse than the competition would do more damage than staying silent. Coding wasn't the only issue. Reporting also pointed to a deeper, more troubling problem: reliability. The rebuilt version of Gemini 3.5 Pro was reportedly still plagued by hallucinations. That's when an AI states something false with complete confidence, along with inconsistent outputs. Inconsistency might sound minor, but for enterprise customers, it's a deal breaker. If you're a business building a product on top of an AI model, you need it to behave predictably. The same input should give you a dependable output. A model that answers one way today and a different way tomorrow is one you can't build a serious product on. And when Google's team ran the rebuilt model against the competition, it reportedly fell short of OpenAI's GPT 5.6 in benchmark tests. Combine that with the hallucination problem, and you can see why the model kept failing what reporters described as basic reliability standards. Now, there's actually a defensible story here, and it's worth being fair to Google. Refusing to ship a model that hallucinates and behaves inconsistently is, arguably, the responsible choice. Plenty of critics have accused AI companies of releasing half-baked models to win the race. Google chose the opposite. But responsibility and market perception are two very different things, and the market was not in a forgiving mood. On July 16, 2026, when the reporting about the delay broke, Alphabet stock closed down about 4.4%. In percentage terms, that might not sound catastrophic. But Alphabet is one of the largest companies on the planet, so 4% is enormous. In raw dollars, that single day wiped out somewhere close to $200 billion in market value, with some reports putting the figure as high as $225 billion once the talent news was factored in. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire market value of many Fortune 500 companies, erased, in hours, over a product that was late. Why did investors react so strongly to a delay? Because of what the delay implied. Rivals including OpenAI and Meta had recently shipped systems that outperformed Google's current models at writing code. And the fear on Wall Street was simple. Every single month that Gemini 3.5 Pro stays in the lab is another month those competitors pull further ahead and lock in more customers. In a normal industry, a 3-month delay is a footnote. In the AI race of 2026, where the leaderboard reshuffles almost weekly and enterprise contracts are being signed right now, 3 months can feel like a lifetime. The market wasn't punishing the delay itself. It was punishing what the delay might cost Google in the months ahead. And then it got worse. In the same week the delay hit the headlines, for senior researchers departed Google DeepMind. Not over months. In a single week. The most significant name, Noam Shazeer, a co-lead on Gemini, and one of the co-authors of the original research that made today's AI possible. He reportedly left for OpenAI. When one of the original architects of your flagship model leaves for your biggest rival, in the same week that model gets delayed again, the symbolism is brutal. He wasn't alone. John Jumper, a Nobel laureate, recognized for the AlphaFold breakthrough that transformed biology, reportedly departed for Anthropic. 2 more researchers, Jonas Adler and Alexander Pritzel, reportedly joined Anthropic as well. That is a staggering concentration of talent walking out one door and into your competitors' offices. Reporting also described widespread frustration among Google's own engineers, who worried the company was losing its edge to faster-moving rivals. And this is the vicious cycle every big lab fears. Delays hurt morale, low morale drives talent away, and losing talent makes the next model even harder to ship on time. Google now has to prove it can break that loop. To really understand why this delay stung, you have to zoom out and look at how crowded and aggressive the field had become by mid-2026. Google wasn't slipping in a vacuum. It was slipping while everyone around it was sprinting. Anthropic, the maker of Claude, had quietly become a revenue leader in the space, reportedly on track for roughly $47 billion in annualized revenue, driven heavily by its coding products and deep enterprise adoption. Remember, coding is exactly the area where Gemini fell short. That's not a coincidence. It's the whole battle. Then there's Moonshot AI, a Beijing-based startup, which released an open-weight model called Kimi K3 that immediately ranked among the strongest systems available for coding and agent-based tasks, reportedly beating models from both Anthropic and OpenAI on one major coding benchmark. So the pressure on Google wasn't just from Silicon Valley. It was global. This is the trap Google found itself in. The one capability its delayed model was weakest at, coding, was simultaneously the most valuable capability in the market, the one driving the most revenue, and the one where its competitors were strongest. Delaying to fix that weakness was the right call technically, but every week spent fixing it was a week the rivals used to sign the customers Google wanted. So what does Google actually do while its flagship sits in the lab? The reporting suggests a stopgap strategy. Rather than leave the field entirely, Google was testing an upgraded version of its faster, lighter Gemini 3.5 flash model, something it could put in front of users and partners now, even if the headline Pro model wasn't ready. Google also emphasized that it remained, in its words, productively engaged with partners and even the US government, and that Pro was live in that limited Vertex AI enterprise preview. The message Google wanted to send was, we're not frozen. We're shipping something, we're iterating, and the flagship is coming when it's genuinely ready. It's a delicate balance. Ship too early and you confirm every fear about reliability. Ship too late and you seed the market. The stopgap flash approach is Google trying to walk that tightrope, stay visible and useful today, without burning the credibility of the flagship it's staking its reputation on tomorrow. So here's the real question underneath all the headlines. Is Google actually losing the AI race? And the honest answer is, it's genuinely not that simple, and anyone telling you it's obvious is selling something. The bear case is real. A flagship model that's missed 3 deadlines, a coding gap against the exact competitors eating the enterprise market, a brutal week of talent departures, and $200 billion in market value gone. If you're worried about Google, these are legitimate reasons. But the bull case is also real, and it's easy to forget in a panic. Google still owns some of the deepest AI research talent on Earth, its own custom chips, unmatched distribution through search and Android, and a track record of shipping genuinely frontier models. Choosing not to release a model that hallucinates could look, in hindsight, like discipline rather than weakness. The companies that win a marathon aren't always the ones leading at every single mile marker. The truth is, we are still early. A single delayed model, however painful, doesn't decide a race this big. What it does do is reveal the pressure everyone in this industry is under, even the giant that started it all. So that's what went wrong with Gemini 3.5 Pro, a coding gap Google couldn't close in time, reliability problems it refused to ship around, a market that punished the uncertainty, and a talent exodus that turned a bad week into a defining one. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Google made the right call holding this model back until it's actually reliable, playing the long game? Or is refusing to ship just a sign that it's genuinely fallen behind OpenAI and Anthropic? Drop, discipline, or decline in the comments and tell me why. I read them. If this breakdown helped you make sense of the story behind the headlines, subscribe to AI Future Lab. That's exactly what we do here every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.